There we are. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are calling in from. It is so great to have you on our live today, everybody. Let us know in comments, whether the comments are over here or over there or over there. Let us know in comments, where are you calling in from today? And say good morning to us in your native language. Love to see that. So, how are y'all doing today? I have a great show with you. And listen, if you're in sales, awesome. You will recognize this journey. If you are not in sales, but you've been thinking about getting into sales, because there's a lot of benefits to being in sales, actually, make sure to pay attention to this show. And then finally, if you've got a friend or a son, I'm talking to you, Mitchell, or a son or a daughter or somebody that you know would be great in sales, but maybe they're like flipping burgers at McDonald's or something like that, get them to this show right now, because today, that was a really long lead in. Today I have my friend, and I can actually say that I have my friend Shane Moore with us. He is the VP of sales in the Americas for a big old company called Bitglass. I have loved working with your team, by the way, Shane. But Shane and I just hit it off right from the beginning. And so I thought, well, let's have him on the live, and we'll figure out what we're going to talk about later. And then as we were talking, it became very clear that Shane has had this interesting path in becoming VP of sales, both in the world of sales and the world of management. And then I thought, well, we kind of thought together, wouldn't it be cool if we could do a whole show about that, the sales journey from not the seller's, not the buyer's journey, not the seller's journey necessarily, but truly, what is the path of sales? How do you even decide to create a career in sales? It's not like, well, now they have in college, you can get actually, I think, an MBA in sales, but you didn't used to be able to. And a lot of people don't grow up going, I'm going to be in sales. So that is what we were going to talk about with Shane today. I'll stop talking. Go ahead and say hi to everybody.
Happy Friday, everybody. Viveka, glad to be here. Hope to add some sort of insight in the journey into sales. But yeah, glad to see you. Glad to be with you. You look wonderful, by the way.
So glad to have you here. So again, folks, if you're listening in and you know someone who would be so awesome in sales, I'm talking to you, Mitchell, make sure to share this live with them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Your career in sales, what do you need to be good in sales? What do you think people need? Do they need schooling? Do they need education? What do people need to be good at sales?
Oh, that's a loaded question. How long do we have in this podcast?
About a half hour.
That it's probably different for several people because, of course, several different personality types can do well in sales. And I think that sometimes if you're thinking about sales, you think there's a certain personality, like a personality type or very dominant personality type. And you think about the car salesman, from a movie that you saw many years ago. But that's not the case, right? There's many different personality types that can be very successful in sales. The one thing that I thought benefited myself from a sales perspective is people that are curious. So if you see things and you wonder how do they work, it doesn't really matter what it is. It can be with something with your car, your house. If you're in conversations with somebody and you find yourself fascinated by the other individuals and how they took that path, I think that also can sort of transition well to sales, because if you're trying to sell a product and you have a true understanding of how that product benefits somebody and that excites you, if you truly get excited, or just think about, if you think about your friends or maybe you're the person, at least this is me, if you find a new diet method that works or a new workout routine that works or something that gets you so excited that you want to go tell everybody about it, and you're completely convinced that, hey, you need to do this. This is why you need to do it. Then I think that personality type transitions well to sales. As long as the end goal is to make sure that you want to help people. And that's where you're coming at it from a place of passion, because you feel like you've learned something that you want to share with others because you've got something to offer, and they're foolish not to listen to you.
I love that, because I think a lot of people think sales is for, as you said, the A-type personality, the gregarious, there's a big word, the gregarious personality, like me,
Right.
and that actually can definitely turn people off sometimes. But if you come at the career and your job, if you want to be in sales, from a place, I love that, of curiosity, it's that curiosity opens up the pathways. I feel like, the big personality can sometimes put a wall up, but that curiosity starts to open up the pathways to allow for that communication. And as you said, and I know we all, turn my fan off. I know we all say, you've got to have the person's best interests at heart. You've got to know that your solution is what they need. We say it all the time. But how do we actually do it? Because a lot of people do get into sales for the money, because let's face it, it's good. Yeah, right. but how do we? Okay, so short story. Back when I moved to Colorado, I thought I was going to get a completely different job. It fell through. My car broke down, and I ended up in a car dealership where they sold me a car, gave me a job, and I actually got a place to stay too while I was there. So that was my entrance into the world of sales. I had done marketing or teaching before that. So that was my entree into the world of sales. And I knew, like you just said, that curiosity and really wanting the best for the end user, or for our for the audience, for the client, for the customer, was what we were after. But I got to tell you, I didn't like this particular type. I worked for them, but I knew their cars were crap.
Right.
And so when you said about getting curious, so one of the things I did like was their trucks. And I got really curious about, I'm trying not to say anything that will let people know, because I want to get sued, what the type of vehicle was. But I loved learning about the trucks. They had a new engine out, and that curiosity is where I started spending my time. So I guess my question to you is, why is that passion important? Is there a way you can find passion if you work for a company or you sell a product or service that you're not really passionate about?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I think that when I look back on my personal sales career, I think I've been successful. I've been successful, but only when I've had the passion.
Yeah.
You have to. Now that's my personality type. You have to have that passion in order to be successful. But I think kind of what you said, you were talking about selling. And by the way, I'd sold cars too for a short period. We could have a 30-minute conversation.
Oh, we could.
Selling cars.
9/11.
So yeah, if you're selling a segment of a big product set, and if you're steered towards something that you're passionate about, then obviously that's where your curiosity is going to go, and that's where you're going to benefit the customers the most. Now, I think the products that you're not passionate about, you have to know where they fit and where they don't fit, and you sell them where they're appropriate, but you do not steer people towards those products if it's not appropriate just to make a sales number. Now, you can do that. There's a lot of people that do that, and they can be highly successful doing it, but at some point, you're going to damage your credibility if you do that. And we all want a long career in sales, or we should, if this is the career path we've chosen. So if you steer people to the correct path, and again, you've got some products you may not be passionate about, but they may have a fit and a need, and if you sell it in a certain situation, hey, it's going to work. But as soon as somebody asks for something a little above and beyond what that product does, you're very honest with them and say, no, that's not what that product was designed for. But in general, passion is super important. And the one thing that, of course, because I manage a sales team now, and there's certain people on my sales team, when I talk to them, they get me fired up about my own product. And then I want to go sell the product more. And I've got some people that I've had in the past, and I'm like, where is the passion? Why are you even working here? Because if you're not passionate about the product, customers can read that.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not passionate about it, the customers are going to read it, and you start looking at your sales numbers, and the sales numbers are going down. So you have to maintain the passion. And if you find yourself losing the passion, it probably is time to go looking for something else to do, because you're shortchanging yourself and you're shortchanging, the customer.
100. Yeah, it's really interesting. With this great resignation, a lot of people are rethinking, do I even want to be working at this company anymore? Do I want to start my own business? Do I just want to change careers? Do I want to change industries? Do I want to change products? Do I want to change companies? And what I have noticed is lately, and I don't know if you've noticed this too, Shane, or the people who are listening right now, there are so many unhappy people at work right now. I went in, this past weekend, I went up to Steamboat Springs to watch the colors change. And I had money to burn and I love shoes. And I needed a new pair of shoes. And there was and they're kind of hard to find. And I saw them in the window of Hoka 11s, running shoes.
I run in those as well.
Yes, they're fantastic. And
They
I
are.
wanted to pair the waterproof hiking, because we're coming into winter here. And I went in and I had an emotional day. So I was like ready to spend money, and I didn't need a sale. I just needed to spend money on shoes. And oh my gosh, we walked in, we were greeted by an adorable little dog. So I'm like, yay. And then the person at the front of the store who was helping people looked up and said, hey, welcome. And we got to the back of the store where the shoes were, and there was this grumpy old dude. And I'm sorry, he was a grumpy old dude. And both my friend and I were there to buy shoes. And he was just like, he was so clearly not passionate about his job that after asking him buying questions, do you have this brand? Can I get this in this side? I don't know. My friend said, do you have these shoes? She had them as a picture on her cell phone, showed him the picture and said, do you have these shoes? He's like, they're over there, like pointed at a wall with literally 400 pairs of shoes on it, and anyway, long story short, clearly the dude wasn't passionate about what he was doing. Clearly he did not want to be there. And that is so dangerous, not only for the individual, because he's not going to be working there much longer unless
Right.
he's the owner, in which case he shouldn't be on the store. But like, as a manager, maybe we'll jump to that question next. As a manager, how do you deal with your salespeople who clearly don't want to be there anymore?
If they clearly don't want to be here anymore, I tell them they clearly should move on somewhere.
Yeah.
And I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but I pride myself in being super transparent and honest with the people that work for me. And if I sense that passion leaving, I try to have a conversation with that person, or maybe with somebody else who might work closer with them, to find out maybe what's happening. Maybe they've got something going on in their personal life.
Right.
We're not all privy to what's happening in everybody else's life. We've been stuck behind a camera, stuck inside. Depending on what state you live in, you may not be able to go out. I mean, it's different, right? So it's different for everybody. So the first thing I try to do is try to understand, am I missing something before I go address this in a conversation with someone? Am I missing something? And if I'm not, maybe the person just clearly has lost passion. I think you have to have the conversation with that person.
Yeah.
Framing it with, it seems you're not happy or something's going on, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
I think that depending on where you're at in your sales career, a lot of times when you're getting into it, you have this mentality that if you're not making your number, or if you make your manager upset, they're just going to get rid of you and bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
That's not the case, because we all know how hard it is to hire people. We would much rather make the people we have absolutely successful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you do see that passion leaving, then you need to have that conversation. And by the way, you need to have it with your peers as well. If you see that if you see that passion with your peers, too many times we don't do that. And I would ask anybody, if I have a peer listening to me, if they sense that I've lost it, because it can also, as you know, it can come and go. It can come and go in spurts. You could be having a bad day, but it's so hard in this industry to be successful if you don't have passion. Now, if it's a long-term thing, you need to go find something else to do. Life's too short. We all want to be happy. You need to find something else to do.
And I think a big mistake is a lot of people get into sales for the money because it's good. And when I was working with job seekers 100 years ago, a lot of them were like, I don't care what I do. I need to pay my mortgage. Like I will work at McDonald's. I will do whatever. I just need to pay my mortgage. And if you're going to get into a job because you need to, pay your mortgage, feed your kids, whatever, just know you're not going to be in that job for very long unless you're passionate about it. So don't get into sales just for the money. Get into sales because you you truly believe in the company, the product or the service or the industry or the vertical that
Right.
you're serving. So what else would you say a lot of salespeople do wrong? A, getting into business just for the money, but what are some other things that salespeople do wrong?
It may depend on the type of sales you do. Of course, I'm in the IT industry, so I'm in technical sales. I think so in the industry I'm in, a lot of times you have a salesperson and you have an engineer that's paired with that salesperson. I think too many times we have salespeople who everything is not their job. Their job is to get the first meeting. Their job is to do X, but they're very quickly to, when it comes to needing resources, they're very quick to, hey, my engineer will take care of that, or somebody else will take care of that. That always comes back to me when you don't have enough curiosity, or you don't have enough passion, or you yourself don't understand the product you have and where does it fit. So to answer your original question, the biggest mistake I see salespeople doing is they don't actually understand the problem their product solves. Now that sounds very simple. I've got a product. This is what it solves. But do you really understand the problem it solves and the problem it doesn't solve too, by the way, because that's important. You don't want to sell the product to somebody thinking it's going to solve a problem and it doesn't, right?
That's even worse, I think.
I think something extremely beneficial, no matter what you're selling, is when you take that job is go talk to customers that use that product. Why did they buy the product? What do they like about it? What do they not like about it? They will educate you probably more than the internal marketing group can.
Yeah.
Without using industry jargon, just saying this, I have this problem. It's solved this way. And if you see a passion coming from that customer, it's going to be very easy to relay that passion. Or first of all, to feel the passion yourself so you can go give it to somebody else.
I love that. And Mario asked a good question. Is passion for one's career path self-created or company created? Does the answer change if we're talking about an individual's job? So I love what you just said about, those discovery conversations and being able to, almost in a good way, like a virus, the client's passion gets, you get infected with the client's passion, which then you can become passionate about your product again. But what do you have an answer to Mario's question? I don't know. Can you see it on the screen? I know you're on the StreamYard. Are you able to see it?
Yeah, let me see if I can digest that, because Mario is such a smart individual. Sometimes I have to, really digest it so I can understand it. Okay, so it's passion for one's career path, self-created or company created. Since the answer changed if we're talking about the individual's job. Okay, this is a question that can go in many different directions. I think one's career path, personally, I think it's self-created.
Yeah.
So the example I would probably use there, I think you said something earlier about we're going through the great resignation. People are feeling lost. I think we're told many times, follow your passion or find something you love and you'll never have a job.
Do what you love and the money will follow. Yeah.
And I've thought about that many times, because if you would have asked me at 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or 40, or I'm not going to tell you what my age is now, the answer could be different. I think there's very few people who grow up knowing exactly what they want to do and they get to follow that career path. So therefore, I think you get a lot of other individuals who, regardless of what they're doing, they don't have passion for what they're doing. Now, where I think they fall short is they don't find the fact that almost any job that you have, if you have passion for that job, it's customer service, customer engineer, it's support engineer, it's working at McDonald's. If you excel in your job, you can be successful doing just about anything. And when you have that passion for whatever you're doing, okay, my job is to flip these hamburgers. How efficient can I get at flipping these hamburgers? Why do I have to flip them like this? What benefits the customer? And I keep asking questions. I think a lot of people are told, again, find your passion. And so they can spend their entire life looking for their passion, when the reality is most of us don't know what I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be in sales, right? Did you think you were going to be doing, a podcast? We didn't even know what a podcast was.
Exactly.
So I think back to Mario's question, I think in most situations it's self-created, not company created. Now, hopefully you work for a company where they recognize the fact that you have passion, you're working hard, and therefore you're going to have a career path up. But by the way, if that company doesn't have it, there's another company that will recognize you, and you'll have that opportunity to make the jump.
That nurturing, I think, is really important. You've got to nurture your salespeople. You got to educate your salespeople. Yeah, you have to have, I think the individual salesperson needs to have the passion in them, but you got to feed it, right? You got to find different ways of feeding it, whether it's gamifying, whether it's spiffs, or whether it's truly just getting into the psychology and I love that word curiosity that you first started with. When I, with my old company Linked Into Business, I knew it was time to wrap that puppy up when I thought I knew everything there was to know about everything. When I stopped being curious about my industry, that's when I was like, okay, it's time to go find something else. Now, in our case, finding something else was combining, it was joining with other social selling leaders and starting a whole new company. And then my curiosity, right? Then my curiosity came back, and then I was excited to learn again. But yeah, for a long time there, it was like, so. So let me ask you a question, and we already know the answer to this. So instead of oops, there it goes. Instead of a yes or no answer, why is it that great salespeople are not necessarily great managers? And if a salesperson wants to move into management, where should they educate themselves?
Another great question that we could probably spend loads of time discussing. So no, of course, great salespeople, that does not mean you're going to make a great manager. So if you're a great salesperson, you're a great salesperson probably because you're wired a certain way, right?
Yeah.
That when you're a great salesperson, I think about this all the time. If you have a company full of great salespeople, you just about don't need marketing. There's a lot of resources internally you don't need because these people will find a way to make money.
Yeah.
Regardless of the resources that are around them, or they'll go find someplace else to go make money, but they're phenomenal. So you take an individual like that and you make that person a manager. Okay. So, and then that person is surrounded with not so great salespeople or people that need managed, like most of us need managed. They need help. That person probably is going to assume everybody's wired like themselves. So managing, they're probably not going to have, first of all, the patience to manage other people.
Right.
They probably don't have the interest in managing other people.
Yep.
And when you take a person like that and you put them into management, well, you probably also hurt your sales numbers for quite some time because you took somebody who was phenomenal at doing what they're doing and you put them into management. And then when they move to management, they figure out, you know what, I'm not making near as much money as a manager. So why did I even take this job anyway to move into it? So no, great salespeople, that does not mean you're going to make a great manager. You can. But you also, first of all, have to ask your question when you're moving into management. Why do you want to move into management?
Yes.
Right. So I can promise you the money is not as great in management. Now, typically you're going to get into management because there is a potential long-term gain of making additional money. You know, you're with a small company, maybe you get more stock options. So if the company gets big and sells, okay, you make the money on the back end as opposed to the front ends. But why actually do you want to get into management? Do you want management to be your career path? Do you want to be a VP of sales, a chief revenue officer, something else? Or maybe you want to move into to be the CEO. So you think that's just a stepping stone to get there. But if you're just great in sales and you think that's a natural progression to move into management, that is not the path you need to go down.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it did. I'm laughing because they popped up Mario's quote. Yeah, there's not nearly as much money in management as being a direct seller. That is.
By the way, I have to answer that question to my wife all the time. Yeah. Why did you get into management?
As my husband does to me, exactly.
Right.
And he was in management. He was going up the ladder at another great big company that I can't mention. And ironically enough, they hired one of his salespeople who was a fabulous salesperson. She killed it, but they hired her above him. So she became his manager. Well, she did not have the management skills. And my question to every company out, and he left the company and is now working for another company back in a sales position and making all the money. So the question is, like, why do companies hire up, and up is sideways, sellers into management positions? Like, why do companies do? You did it, so why did you want to go into management?
I don't know if I can answer that question. Oh, that's a great question. Depending on the industry you're in, I think you become very siloed into how you operate.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I mean, again, I'm in information technology, and what you see many times.
Mention Bitglass. It's okay for you to mention Bitglass.
Well, just in general, being in information technology, what you'll see people in the industry. So I know people who are phenomenal at what they do, and they may move to another manufacturer, and they're going to maintain being phenomenal at what they do. I've worked with people as managers who are not phenomenal at what they do. But guess what happens? They leave and they have another manager's job somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's almost if within the IT career, first of all, it's hard to find good people anyway. I think every vertical market, any industry is struggling hiring people. So I believe what happens, first of all, we can all make ourselves look very good on LinkedIn, and we're all good at selling ourselves when we're looking to take another job.
Yeah, exactly.
But many companies, if they're looking for some sort of manager, they will go look for other people that have done that job at some other similar type company. And that's probably a small pool of people to choose from. And you may have 3 candidates, and honestly, none of them may be good.
Yeah.
So the person I work for prefers to hire people from inside the company because at least my CEO he knows those individuals. So he has an idea and he would much rather do that than look outside the organization because he doesn't have the trust level.
Yep.
Right. You know what you're getting, you know what you're not getting, but the devil's in who you know, not what you don't know. Something like that. I mean, I missed that saying.
Yeah.
But back to even on the sales side, I think what you'll see is salespeople transition from company to company to company.
Yep.
Within the same industry. And what's fascinating is we don't sometimes look to, like, we have resellers. So a lot of times we don't look to and I came from a reseller, so maybe this is my personal bias talking.
Yeah.
There's many great salespeople who work for resellers.
Yes.
But manufacturers sometimes say, I only want to hire from somebody who's worked at a manufacturer. Well, guess what? Well, your pool comes down and you don't have as many people to hire from.
Exactly.
And you're hiring somebody who changes jobs every 2 or 3 years. It's just, it's kind of odd. There's a comfort level with hiring from somebody who's done that job before.
Yeah.
But have they ever done that job well before?
You know, that is first of all, the point about resellers. So if we have any company leaders listening to this, look at your resellers first, because they know your product better than certainly, like you said, going to someone who's had a similar role before. And I love that. It's like, we'll hire contractors on to do writing or something for us. And then most of the people in our CS have come up that way. We hire them on as a contract, and then we hire them on full time. And so, the person, their skill sets. And we just hired someone because of their passion. They didn't have actually much experience in B2B sales and bigger sales, but they were so passionate and so willing to learn and so open that we're like, okay, let's give this guy a try. And he's turning out to be fabulous. So, there are other things you need to definitely look at. And the sales, that was kind of personal, the sales to management, because why would you? And I love what Brian said in comments earlier. Managers need to be selfless advocates, and there's not many people in sales. I mean, I hate to generalize this way, but there's not many people in sales who are naturally selfless advocates.
Oh, it's very true, Brian. That's a wonderful comment, and it's spot on.
Yeah.
And I think with the managers that I have, I want to say, of course you could ask anybody that works for us. I hope we're all in that bucket, selfless advocates for our team. Because otherwise you're right. It's not going to work out. But back to the hiring comment, because you said something again, back to that passion and curiosity, you can't teach that.
Right.
We can tell people you need to be that, but it's very hard to teach somebody to be passionate. So I would much rather have somebody with passion and curiosity, maybe a little experience, slot them into a position. Then you can train them the things they need to understand or mold them a little bit.
Yeah.
But you can find somebody with loads of experience, but if the passion is gone and the curiosity is gone, it's going to be tough.
Looking elsewhere. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got this half hour just flew by. I didn't even have time to roll our commercials. So we'll do it at the end. Thank you so much. And again, if you are listening to this as a recording and you know anyone who is interested in sales and or management, make sure that they, send this recording out so that they can listen to it. Shane is incredibly generous. If you're looking for a job in sales, you could probably reach out to Shane too. Bitglass is a really, really, really cool company. So if you're interested in that, cloud security world, you might reach out to Shane as well. But anyway, Shane's like, no, we don't need any more sellers. I don't know. But anyway, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to Shane. Thank you so much for your time. It absolutely flew by. Now maybe we should have an hour show. I don't know, but thank you so much for your time today. Any last words of wisdom?
No, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Viveka. Thanks for having me on. Hopefully it was an insightful conversation for people to listen to, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And for the rest of you, if you are interested in selling better, prospecting better, and selling more, then for sure check out our program. I'll go ahead and play that now. Thank you very much, Shane. Have a great rest of the day and a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of the day.